안녕하세요. You're watching I Heart Korean. I'm your host, Christy.
And I'm your host, Christina.
Welcome to I Heart Korean. We are your one-stop shop for everything Korean. Like
from K-pop to K-dramas, food, culture, language, and basically everything Korean. Or anything Korean. All the Korean.
Korean, lots of Korean. We're by no means experts, and you'll learn that over time. But come on a journey with us. We're excited to learn everything we can, and we'll make mistakes along the way. And you are welcome to say so in the comments below, because I know we're going to mess stuff up. And be nice to us though, because we're learning, and you can nicely correct us in the comments below.
Please. My Korean is about preschool level.
Mine's not even that. I'm an infant. I'm learning from scratch. So, yeah. So, Christina, you are half Korean. Tell us about your journey from, you were born in Korea. Okay, and your dad is?
My dad is Puerto Rican. He was in the U.S. Air Force, was stationed in Gwangju, South Korea, which is where I was born. Met my mom, they married, they had me. And so my mom speaks Spanglish a lot. Spanish, English, but with a Korean accent.
Oh, that has to be great to listen to.
Yeah, so I get really confused when I go to visit. Because my grandma in her old age speaks less English, and so she speaks to me in Puerto Rican, and then my mom speaks to me in Korean. I was basically raised in America, but in a fully Korean household with Korean food, Korean church, Korean mother speaking Korean, but I refused to learn when I was little, because I went into an American school and it was embarrassing to me, being the only Asian kid in my class up until probably 4th grade. One of the things my mom always told me when I was little is, if you quit piano, you're gonna regret it later. And I feel that way with
Korean.
With Korean, because every Sunday morning we would have Korean class and then Sunday school. And so the basics were given to us, and my mom would speak, and all the kids were very fluent. So going to Korean church, all the kids were fluent and their parents, but they were all full 100% Korean. Whereas as soon as I would get back home, I would be with my American friends.
Right. So you've had a lot of exposure to the culture and language, but not necessarily implemented it in your life, at least as a child and a teenager. What made you want to learn it now as an adult?
As an adult, my family started coming to visit from Korea and would stay with my mom, and the more I got to know them, the more I miss them, since I had never seen them growing up, being from a different country. So in 2018, I was able to go to Korea, but in order to do that, my emo required that I learn Korean because she did not speak any English. So I started going to Korean school here, and after about 3 semesters was able to slightly get by in Korea with my basic Korean language. And ever since then, I've wanted to go back. So what about you, Christy? What brought you to I Heart Korean?
Well, I wanted to start this channel because first of all, I married a Korean. He was adopted from Korea. He was raised in America. I'm originally from New Zealand, and I moved up here when I was a teenager. And so you'll hear a little bit of Americanism in there sometimes. Years down the road, we adopted our oldest son from Korea. And I've always felt that it's really important for him to learn his culture, because he's kind of been taken away from that. And the only way for him to know who he is to introduce him to his culture, his language, the food, kind of everything there is to know about Korea. And I think that's important for anybody, no matter what culture they're from. If you didn't grow up with it, you feel like you're missing something, especially if you go back to your home country, like you just feel out of place. And I think it's really important. And so the only way for him to learn Korean, because my husband, who is Korean, does not know anything Korean, I think it's really important for me to learn so I can teach him.
So how have you learned different Korean culture, Korean food? Do you take classes or?
I have not taken classes yet, but I have joined a lot of groups that teach Korean. I watch a boatload of K-dramas, and by boatload I mean a lot, and we'll be talking about that too. So I'm excited to do those episodes on K-dramas, K-pop, the language. There's a lot I've learned I have a lot of Korean friends as well, and I've done that partly on purpose and partly just by chance. My college friends that I hung out with all the time were Korean, so that's kind of cool. And I'm still friends with them today, and yeah, we go eat at their restaurant all the time.
Which is amazing, because I have no Korean friends outside of the people that I hung out with when I was forced to as a child. So right now, I literally have one half Korean friend who moved away. So
don't worry. I'm hoping that we'll make lots of Korean friends doing this channel. So I'm excited. I'm excited to learn a culture that is really, really interesting and different from so many other cultures in the world. Let us know if you have any questions, any topics that you really want answers for, and we'd be happy to research them, happy to teach about them as we learn about them. So yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and push the notification bell so that you can know when we upload our next videos. Annyeong.
annyeong.
Bye.
Bye. You know what? We're just gonna stick with this one right here.
She has a favorite band, and we're going to talk about all our favorite bands too. What's your favorite?
Big Bang.
Big Bang. What's my favorite?
Oh, EXO.
EXO and NCT 127.
Oh, I do love them too.
Yeah, and I'm really sad because EXO'd. It's clever. They pieced out, and we're hoping they'll come back. Please come back. So much to talk about. Oi, oi, I'm old.
안녕하세요.
Hi. I'm a dork. Get used to it. I'm a dork.
You need like.
Or should I say that in New Zealand? I'm a dork.
You're a dork.
I'm a dork.
Dang it.
Perfect.
You're watching
I Heart Korean. You said I Heart Korean.
안녕하세요. What? I'm bowing.
I was not ready for that. 안녕하세요. No, you can do that. It's fine. I just wasn't ready for that. Okay, go ahead.
Where's my water?
Do you need a moment?
Yes. My face hurts from laughing.
Blooper reel. Do you think we need to do anything again?
Yeah, I think that whole thing needs